sweet. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. So wonderful to see your faces out there this fine morning. Our opening words this morning are from Muslim astronomer and inventor. And as you know, we're honoring the Muslim holiday of Ramadan in this service. His name is Ibn al-Haytham. And he says, if learning the truth is the scientist's goal, then they must make themselves an enemy of all that they read. They should also suspect themselves, so that they may avoid falling into either prejudice or leniency. The words of Ibn al-Haytham. So if you would take a look in your order of service, there's something there we call our shared affirmation of service, of mission. And I would love you to recite it along with me. This fellowship is a welcoming, diverse, and nurturing, beloved community that promotes progressive religious thought and practice to create a more loving, just, and sustainable world. And y'all know I like to emphasize that word, world. We're going for the whole enchilada, knowing that the ripple begins with me and with you. We open the floor now for our time of SUUF announcements. I have a couple, and know that we have our community microphone, and if you have an announcement to share, you are more than welcome to come forward and do so. And please make sure that you don't touch the mic, and please stay masked. So today is the end of our Spring 22 fundraiser. I looked at last week's video sermon. Can we give a hand for Eddie Jayana and Michael for sharing their stories with us? And as you know by now, I am a major proponent of sharing stories and my belief in the power of your story, of everyone's story. So if you're so inclined to send me an email sometime soon or over the summer, that was our last SUUF and Me for this season, as I like to call them seasons. But in the fall, we'll be firing up again. And I'm channeling that SUUF and Me spirit in today's gathering. But today is the end of our fundraiser. So I want to thank everyone who has stepped up and sent their pledge and/or contribution in. Be sure to send your check to our treasurer, Gary Stewart, or drop it in our Sunday collections. You're on the way. But again, thank you for your additional support and supporting the fellowship and what we're about. There are more details in your April newsletter. Okay. A few copies of the inserts are also available on the table. Sarah has an announcement she'd like to make. Yes.
Hello everyone. I forgot to update the University Women announcement in the last newsletter. It talked about March, but unfortunately for those who tried to come to our Zoom March meeting, our presenter wasn't able to join us, so we didn't have that program. But for April, we will be having Robin Prodom Bauer, who is the mayor of Clarkdale, on our theme of strong women. And she has been active in the League of Women Voters in both California and Arizona, and she has had a lifetime of supporting women. And we're going to have our first in-person meeting in 2 years at Christ Lutheran Church, which is just on the other side of the fire station here. It's right at the traffic circle. It starts at 10, but there's a 9:30 social hour. So anybody who would like to come, please join us. We support support women who'd like to return to college by giving them scholarships so they can finish their career goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, yes. Anyone else with an announcement they'd like to share? Yes, Michelle?
I know Anthony mentioned the live SUUF and me is over with, but as you noticed in the April newsletter, we're printing them again. So I wanted to make an announcement to some new people, because last year I did a whole bunch of people. I really don't want to charge them again to update their SUUF and needs. So if there's anybody new here that would like to answer those 5 little questions, please send me an email. You can send it to the editor, one on the back. My personal email's not on there, so it might be a little hard to read. I'll make the announcement again next week, and then after that, I'm picking for May. So watch out. So I always rather have a volunteer. Okay, thank you.
Carolyn, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Becky Shipman, who is the secretary for Sedona PFLAG, did not send in a timely notice about her meeting. She apologized. So I just wanted to let people know that it's always the second Tuesday of the month at 6:30. And you can go on the Sedona PFLAG website and they'll give you the link to the meetings because they're on Zoom right now. And so I just wanted to announce that Tuesday, April 12th, the guest speaker at 6:30 is Carol Conti, and she is a medical imaging professional and has been doing it for 40 years. She's going to talk about how this technique can diagnose some problems. And I really don't know much about it, so it's going to be an informational talk. And then 7:30 is our support group, and that is led by a very proficient social worker. And we get a lot out of those meetings. So yeah, if you're interested, you can also talk to me after the service. I always get the PFLAG link every month. So that's what I am announcing.
Thank you so much. We're always supportive of PFLAG and the great work that they do. So poets, I see, yes, another hand, please. Yes, Cora, please.
This is very impromptu, but
Yes.
I just wanted to remind people that we're kicking off the backpack program at the Sedona Communities Food Center and Food Bank this week. Penny and I are going to do the first session just to make sure it runs smoothly. I'm thinking about sending out the initial email just to remind people of the dates that they have. But I just thought I'd let people know that we finally got to April, and even though everybody volunteered early, we're finally here, and we've volunteered the next couple of Thursdays and one Tuesday. So thank everybody again for participating.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cora.
The backpack program, yes. Any other announcements, please? Impromptu or otherwise? Yes, Gary.
Not so impromptu.
Please, Gary.
Good morning, I'm Gary, I'm the treasurer, and we seem to be talking about money in March and April, and the fundraiser, I think, was a success. We're at $9,500. I think we can get to $10,000, which is wonderful. Our budget called for $13,000, and I think achieving $10,000 is a wonderful success. We had 39 individuals. If you're a couple, you count as 2, so 39 individuals, mostly members, a few friends, contributed that money, so we're very, very grateful for that. And March is over, but there's still room for a time for another straggling gift if you'd like. On the other hand, you might want to save your gunpowder because now I'm going to go into April. April, we're going to, is refreshing our pledges. This is the time of the year where we ask members to tell us what they want to pledge and commit to fund for the next year. Budgeting is, I've been doing it my whole life, and I guess I'm surprised I still have hair left. You budget revenues, expenses, what are you gonna spend, what do I have to spend? We do have, rough and tough, a $90,000 annual expense budget. That's for Reverend Anthony and Susanna and the synagogue and dues for the UUA organization. That's what makes up most of that. I'm not, those that have been members for some time are not new to this. Every year, this is the time of year that we ask for pledges. And an email will be coming out that says how to send a pledge in. We can do it with email, we can do it with the mail, we can do it with giving me a piece of paper. Paper's not bad, and a lot of us like paper. When you go to try to scan stuff at home, it can be a nightmare sometimes. But all in all, we're into the second punch. The first punch of March, I think, was a very good success. Now we're into April for the fundraising, the pledge drive, and a round of applause for those 39 and those yet to contribute to the fundraiser.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. And our hats go off to you, especially those of us who don't have hair. Watch the hair. But thank you for your efforts, and we are definitely blessed to have someone of your expertise. Keeping an eye on the bottom line, it's important for us all. So I'll do my shout out for those who stepped up for our special fundraiser, trying to meet the 13. So I say we just blow Gary's socks off, so we just hump 10, we can just go to 13. Give him something really to talk about. That's my request. So poets and poetry lovers, next Sunday is our day. Our talk is entitled Poetry as a Spiritual Practice. And think we have about 10 SUUF poets who have stepped up so far with either original poems or poems that they love. So we will be looking forward to that. Again, there's still time. The deadline is April 6th for submitting poems, either your own or ones you love. Please send me that information if you're so inclined. A poet. What did Hafiz say about a poet? A poet is someone. A poet can pour light into a cup, then raise it to quench your holy mind. Widening the Circle, our overarching group where we talk about the isms, gender, race, age, class, ableism, and all that good stuff. The film and discussion groups continue for April. Our film this month is I Am Not Your Negro. It is on Netflix. We'll be having a home discussion at the home of Tanya and Paul on Friday, April 22nd, in person. And for those who can't make that event, we will follow that up with the Zoom discussion on the 26th of Tuesday. Details on the website. And lastly, the women's group. As we step out of celebrating Women's Month, preceded by Black History Month, with the idea that we're going to erase them months by the time your grandchildren are grown. That's my wish. Grandpa, why did they only give him a month? So the women's group would like to plan another in-person lunch gathering in the next couple of weeks in April for the last 2 weeks. If you're interested, please send an email to Pat this week. And Pat's address is on the back of your program. All right? So we light our chalice at this time. I like to call it the umbrella, under which we use huddle, to hold one another, to look out for one another. So with the rekindling of this flame, let us all recommit ourselves to accept accept life's gifts with grace and with gratitude, and to use these gifts to bless the world in the spirit of love. May it be so.
This is a poem by Shamsuddin Mohammad and Hafiz, the 14th century Iranian poet. Beloved presence, cloak yourself in 1,000 ways, still shall I know you, presence. Most dear, close, and intimate, I shall salute you in the springing of cypresses and in the sheen of lakes, the laughter of fountains. I shall surely see you in tumbling clouds, in brightly embroidered meadows. Oh, beloved presence, more beautiful than all the stars together, I trace your face in ivy that climbs in clusters of grapes, in morning flaming the mountains, in clear arc of sky. You gladden the whole earth and make every heart great. You are the breathing of the world.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Jayana. You are the breathing of the world. Beloved presence. So good morning again, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Greetings and blessings. I welcome you as always in the name of the ancestors upon whose shoulders I stand. And I welcome you in the name of all that is holy and sacred for you. You know the phrase that moves my heart, which we must say again. Shout out to Pat and Chris for that marvelous job they did last week, too. But here we do not ask what you believe. For those who may be here for the first time wondering about us. We do not ask what you believe or expect you to think the way we do. But only that you try. Try to live a kind and a helpful life with the dignity, proper to that of a human being. Welcome all who believe that religion is wider than any sect, and deeper than any set of opinions, including my own. So welcome all who may find in this fellowship and in our friendship strength and encouragement for daily living. For daily living. Things you can use. And as I like to say, because it don't mean a thing. Let me say what this means. Why I say this. Let's be clear about that. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. If there is, it's a challenge to myself to offer something that is useful, that you can use, that you're going to think about when you leave. You might tell your grandchildren about it, or your spouse, or yourself. But to sum it up in the way I talk with my Mississippi, Chicago self, it don't mean a thing.
If you ain't got that swing.
Thank you very much. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. So, Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you, as we celebrate the second day of Ramadan, the month-long Islamic holiday of fasting and prayer. So it's in the spirit of SUUF and me, as I mentioned, that I'm sharing my story about Islam, Islam and me. I really could have titled it Islam and my daddy and my family and me. In fact, you see some photos I laid out there on the table. I didn't want to do a show and tell, but I'm going to be available afterwards if you wonder who those photos are. You will see a bunch of black Muslims. Story goes how my father founded that village in Mississippi in 1987, still alive and kicking today, and how Spirit moved me to hook them up with the Unitarian Universalists in Ellisville, Mississippi. So I know all things are possible. And for my scientists, I got a non-photoshopped photo right out there on the table. And we'll be chatting about that later. So, why am I always hollering about stories? I'm big on stories because what stories do, they reveal, we say we're all connected. But there's a scientist in me, I want to know that. I'm from Chicago, you got to show me what you talking about. What you talking about with this? So stories allow us to peel it off. It's through our stories that the connections become real. Carrie and I went to the same, graduated from the same college. No way I would have known that. But he shared that story. I shared my story. Like the stories that's most powerful for us to show. So I'm going to do the best I can with Islam about me and my dad and my family. My parents were born Howard and Ruth Johnson in Mississippi. And father name's Howard Johnson, yes. If I had a dime for every time, I wouldn't be standing up there. Who's that dude? Where'd he go? He went to cash that $1 million check. Howard Johnson. That's your daddy. No, different Howard Johnson. But my folks were part of that great migration that you may have read about in The Warmth of Other Suns, that great book, if you don't have it, oh, you should jump up and get it, by Isabella Wilkerson, who wrote her latest one, Cass. This precedes Cass, called The Warmth of Other Suns. She talks about one of the greatest migrations in human history. That was the millions of black folks who left the South, heading to the North, giving them good-paying jobs. That was my daddy's story. So he went to Detroit, left us at the house. Dad's about 19 at that time, 3 sons, no job, going north. I'll send for y'all when I get there. So he did. First stop was Detroit, Michigan. Some of you know I was raised in Chicago, but we stayed there in Detroit for 3 years or so. And it was there that my father got exposed to the teachings of Islam, and specifically the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that is the Nation of Islam, and the particular tenets that supported it. So my father became Howard 5X. So even in Islam, there's so many Howards. Because if you were Howard, you get the one and he was number 5. Howard 5X, and eventually my father changed his name to Abdul Hakim Sharif. And my whole family are Sharifs, except for that Anthony. You see, my first name is not really Anthony, as Lydia's last. My first name is that. That is. Because I have always questioned what I call the big three. That is the religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Just somehow for me, they just seem not to make sense to me. And I have much respect for all those, and I mean that. Because I used to tell my daddy at the end of the day, because guess what? You could be right. Because I don't know about y'all, but I don't know for sure. But I grew up, I attended a Christian church, a Baptist church, born black in Mississippi, automatically a Baptist. And I did attend the Islamic Mosque. But there was always something, I felt connected to something, dare I say, larger or more mysterious. Because I would say, Dad, I appreciate all these books. In fact, when you sent me to school, I read, I know about the Torah, the Old Testament, and New, and checked out all this good stuff over on the Christianity, and the Torah, and the Holy Quran. And they're books, Pops. They're books. Men, and I do mean men write books. Inspired, enlightened, brilliant men. My latest joking way I say it is 6,000 frogs. 6,000 frogs. That's how many species of frogs the scientists have discovered so far. 6,000 species. Ain't no man that deep. Humble opinion. We'll talk about the billions, the 100 billions of stars. I don't purport to know what it is, but something tells me what it may not be, or dare I say what it ain't. Well, so my spiritual awakening blossomed in college, and I began to listen to what we call jazz music, what I call African American classical music in general, John Coltrane in particular. Because there was one thing that was clear for me for sure. I don't know, but I know one thing. There is more to this than this. And I walked away with that. That's also where I got my African name, Mtuaswa. Some of you have asked me about that. You pronounce it in Swahili, and M is pronounced like you just tasted your favorite food. Not M. So it's Mtuaswa, which translates to me natural man. And I began that journey down the path of the ancestors. It was Taoism and the study of Tai Chi that got me through the military and allowed me to go to the woods on Sunday when all the other good soldiers were going to church. But getting my commanding officer to okay that's a story for another day. But I cannot put 50 years of Islam into 20 minutes, so I'm going to share one story about my dad. And as I say, I'll be available after the service to chat more if you wish. As I mentioned, my dad's given name is Mtuaswa Johnson and all the rest of everything. So there he was in Detroit, 19, 20 years old, wife, 3 sons, and he went to the temple, the Islamic temple in Detroit, and there for the first time he heard some things he hadn't heard before, and that many of us in this audience take for granted. He heard that he was a human, that he was a man, and not those other names he was called all his life. You see, when Pops grew up, walking down the street, white people coming. You got to get off the street, but you're not allowed to walk on the same side. Things like that. So here was a man, Honorable Elijah Muhammad, saying, not only are you all right, but you are the original people of the unit. You're the original man. Cream of the crop. Whoa. So that was what he started hearing. And I'm going to say the word, my crazy daddy said, heck, I'm going to call. He's listening to these, because Honorable Elijah's in Chicago. He's in Detroit, but he's listening to these tapes or reading the paper and stuff. So he calls him up on the phone. Just kind of like his son, kind of direct fellow. Calls Elijah up on the phone. His wife answers the phone, Sister Clara said, yeah. He said, can I speak to you? And he started telling the story of blah, 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 blah. And she puts Elijah Muhammad on the telephone. And he said, come, son, you can meet with me. And that's kind of how Elijah's son. He's a meek, short man from Georgia. So Daddy, my father took the Greyhound bus straight to Chicago. Went to my Aunt Joyce and Uncle Johnny's house, crashed there, got up on the next day to go meet with the leader of the Nation of Islam in person. The meeting was set. They had arrived on a Thursday afternoon at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's Hyde Park home, a beautiful mansion. Just the two of them sitting in his living room with an occasional walkthrough by his bodyguard, who's quite a figure in the Islamic history of African Americans in the United States, Captain Raymond Sharif. He was the captain of what's called the Flute of Islam, for Muslims had a self-defense wing. They were unlike the non-violent folks. Muslims were into self-defense, not attacking anyone, but if you dared to raise and attack them, as we used to say, you better bring a lunch, because you're going to be there for a while. So Dad said the only person that came through was the bodyguard, Raymond Sharif, and they discussed my dad's job search and family issues and his children, his fears about white people, and they also talked about his dreams. They met for several hours, as a matter of fact. My dad was awestruck, just awestruck at the serenity, the lack of fear in this man. Yeah. So at the end of the meeting, Elijah Muhammad gave my daddy $20. He said, Andrew, usually when you go to a counselor to get some help, you got to come out your pocket with something. He gave me $20. And then I was getting ready to, walk on out and catch the bus back, and he said, no, Captain Sharif, bring my car around. So there's Captain Sharif goes get the black Cadillac, ringing around, and much to his surprise and my surprise, Elijah Muhammad got behind the wheel. And Captain Sharif sitting in the front seat. So that's an image that's emblazoned in my head. I shake it like a Polaroid picture. There's Pops sitting in the back seat, Elijah driving, Captain Sharif in the front, and my scared, wide-eyed Pops in the back. Alone in more ways than one. So, he went back home, then got that bus, stayed at Mom's house for a while, they went on back home. And what he said just happened like that. He went back, got him a good bricklaying job, and we started eating kind of regular, and eventually piled into an old Plymouth with 4 tires and no spare. Daddy said the tires were like onion skins, but we were going to Chicago because he couldn't get no good job there. He had to go to Chicago and go because my uncle had promised I can get you on over there. So that's where we went. So the Nation of Islam, looking about them, you've heard the stories. They advocated for a separate nation for people who look like me within the United States. You will never get a fair shake. Look at your history. Still playing out to this day. humble opinion, that is the number one problem facing us as a society. Take unemployment, none of that. Those are all symptoms. Joe Biden, bless his soul, give you an example. We've been trying to pass an anti-lynching bill in the country of my birth. We've tried 200 times. Not a few times. 200 times. Happy to see it pass. So, the Muslims say, no, we got to get away, break away. We need 5 states. Let's get away from these white folks. And of course, they were in line with the fundamentalist, torch-carrying folk we see now. But they were powerful in their own right, and I have nothing but respect for that organization, because I am sure in my own life I know they've probably cleaned up, 500,000 men. No more drugs, no alcohol. Next time I see you, you will have a tie and a suit on. You will be doing X, Y, Z. Now, I got all kind of issues with all the other stuff. And I can respect that. And they had banks, Islamic schools in some 47 cities across the nation. Laundromats, barbershops, and a printing plant. And at one time, they printed the country's largest black newspaper. And that little meat man I talked about, he was a mentor to people you might know, like Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Louis Farrakhan, and his son, Muhammad. Here's what happened. Elijah died at 75. His son stepped up. And he changed the rules. Opened it up to folks who look like you. You are a fellow worshiper. This stuff you've been hearing is hogwash. We're all one people. Might have different religions. You might come from wherever you come from. This was revolutionary. It's the same transformation that my hero Malcolm X went through when he went on his Hajj to Mecca. And he saw people, Muslims who looked like Gary Stewart there. And he didn't know where to put it. Oh, we've been Muslims for generations. Who are you? Where you been? So, Elijah Muhammad, that form changed when his son Muhammad came up. He is the same leader who dug the first shovel of dirt for my father's village in Mississippi. So they too follow the more orthodox, dare I say, brotherly love form of Islam. So yeah, it was Muhammad who came down to New Medina, Mississippi. I still remember the day. Put that first shovel in the ground. So they now have 60 acres down there. I go down there every summer, and I'm a Muslim for a couple of weeks. It's a beautiful thing. And they have a mosque and a school, and folks have realized that they do not grow horns from their heads. So it's been a joy to hold these 30 years. So the Nation of Islam went away, and white folks was accepted as fellow worshipers. You know, my mom would always beg me and my dad to stop arguing about this. We said we were discussing, but Mom never let that fly. No, you're not discussing, you're arguing. Almost to the point of violence. And sometimes you almost was taken out of there too. Because my pop was quite the guy. I'll leave it at that. My mom was a Southern Baptist by birth and culture, but she also would eventually convert to Islam. So that was it. And they went on back home. All things are possible, as I mentioned. So when 9/11 happened, you remember that? That was a big one. And two stories about that. First, people asked me, how did I feel when 9/11 happened? It's strange, but I have to honor my personal feeling. I felt a sense of relief. For the first time in my life, I felt I was not enemy number one. It's hard to imagine. Whew. somebody else said, pass me in the line. Oh, the Muslim. Whoo, so you a black American, you dangerous black male, you can chill out for a minute. So beyond that sense of relief, of course, I felt all whatever you felt about what's happening. But I'm reminded when 9/11 happened, an American reporter asked Muhammad Ali what he thought about the terrorists and what they were doing in the name of their faith. And I can just see old Muhammad Ali. He responded by asking the reporter a question. What do you think about Hitler had done in the name of his faith? Then I asked, what about Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma bomber perpetrator, had done in the name of his faith? Do you ever connect those? So meant to remind us that Muslims have been and continue to be some of the greatest intellectuals in humankind that we've ever known. Like the inventor of the scientific method, whose opening words I quoted. Ibn al-Haytham may be a new name for some of us. Yes, he invented the scientific method some 500 years before Renaissance scientists. Please Google him. So for us to use finding our own ways to fill our own souls with peace, it is important that we make room for everybody, even them. So we're happy to celebrate Ramadan out loud and on purpose. See, because as an elder now, I have realized, and in the words of one of my heroes, Malcolm X, you see, this is a time for martyrs now. This is a time for martyrs now. And if I'm going to be a martyr, let it be in the name of brotherhood. Inshallah, as Muslim friends of mine say, as I hear my brother say a million times, Inshallah means God willing. So let us keep learning to resist the stereotypes, the stories, to open our hearts to our Muslim neighbors and all our neighbors, and in goodwill and in fellowship, wish them Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan Mubarak. May it be so. Blessed be. Ashe. Amen. So if you would join me in a moment of silence. Yes, you and I, we have been warmed by fires that we did not build, and all of us have drank from wells that we did not dig. So in gratitude of that and recognition of that, and of all our many, many blessings, and our many needs, the morning's offering for this fellowship will not be received. I need some more food. Now is the time that we make space for the joys and concerns within our community. Joys and concerns that are sitting in your heart. Well, I'll share the first joy. I see some folks I haven't seen before or haven't seen in a while. So I'm going to place something. I'm going to place a stone in the water for that. And I'm just going to stay here by myself and place the stones for any others and open the floor up for you. Any joys and concerns that you have to share with us. You're welcome at this time.
Well, I have a joy and a concern that go together. Wednesday, I'm having surgery, and they're going to put a spinal cord stimulator in my back, which hopefully will let me walk without pain. And then my concern is that I won't work. So I would really appreciate if you would keep me in your thoughts the next week. Thank you.
Consider it done. Anyone else with a joy or a concern? Sarah, please.
Yes, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to mention that our University Women meeting is tomorrow, the first Monday of the month. And we always have a little auction at the end, mini auction to raise money for our scholarships, and it's going to be about household items. So if you're interested in coming, please join us. There's a lot of UU women who do come and are part of that organization. Thank you.
And big for you, Michelle. Anyone else? Yes, please. Now,
I would like to express joy that so many people came up to me over the last week and expressed remembrance and their feelings about the passing of my mother. Wilma Gore lived to be 99, and you don't live that long without affecting the lives of a great many people. And I'm glad to know that she affected the lives of so many people right here.
yes, she did. But it's Wilma Gore, so y'all want to join me in that little ritual piece? As you raise your right hand for me, please. Her name is Wilma Gore. Out loud and proud, we say it 3 times as we thrust forward. Wilma Gore, Wilma Gore, Wilma Gore. Bless her soul. Any other joys and concerns that wish to be shared at this time? I see you here.
I have first a concern that turned into a joy. My mother fell over a couple of days ago. And that's not my mother, by the way, that's my sister. But she fell and she hit her head. She's 91, and bless her heart, she recovered like a champ. You know, ambulance picked her up, took her to the hospital, put a couple of staples in her head, and she's good. No broken bones. So I call her the Energizer Bunny because she falls a lot and always gets back up. So what a constitution my mother has, and I just realized, wow, amazing how she's endured all that, plus her life. So anyway, it's definitely a joy that she's back on solid ground again.
Thank you. Her name is Estelle, by the way. I call her a trooper. Estelle is a trooper. Estelle is 91 years old, like my mom, and Lydia's mom and my mom. Happy to actually communicate with moms in Mississippi. They share phone calls every now and then. So I'll put that in the joy. Anyone else? I'll express a concern of mine. My aunt, bless her soul, my favorite aunt, when I was growing up in Chicago as a young boy, 12, 13 years old, I used to stay up at night. She worked at Spiegel Catalog Company, putting catalogs in boxes from 3 to 11 at night, and she'd get home by 12 o'clock. Everybody was asleep. But me. And so we eat burgers and talk stuff. So she's now has a couple of spots on her lungs. She is a breast cancer survivor, so we're sending our love and light for Jean Arnold. Bless her soul. Anyone else? So I'll drop one last stone for the joys and concerns that still remain in our hearts. Rick, I want to thank you out loud and on purpose for that music you've been playing for us. And I'm going to ask you to play this for me more and more time. Give you a little more, please. Send me on my way. Keep going, just take it down low. As I say my bye-byes. Yes. So I shall extinguish this fire, this flame, but not that flame of commitment, the flame of fellowship that burns in the hearts of all of us. So until we are together again, please, go in peace. And yes, we are still building a new way. Yes, thank you. Keep going, Rick. Work you to death or to life. Thank you. Yes. Thank everybody for coming. Put it in.